What's up, guys and gals? Hey, before we get into today's actual video, I want to remind everybody, and in case you're new, go back and watch my Monday Night Live video that we did. We got a pretty cool giveaway in there. I also have a special guest, the Tin Horse Monty, on the live from Monday evening, so it's well worth the watch. And like I said, we got an awesome giveaway. Go watch that. It'll tell you how to enter it and everything. It's pretty simple and it's pretty awesome. So go check that out and come back to this video. Thanks. What's up, Backyard Bass fans? Alright, today we are going to go over just some simple baits just to get bit. These are not for your guys that know what they're doing or anything like that. This is strictly for either somebody starting out or somebody just wanting to go out on a weekend, maybe take the kids along, take a wife along or husband along, whatever it may be, and just catch some easy bass. Now when I say easy bass, I'm talking about this is a very simple bait to use. I've actually got 3 different baits here. They're all in the same line. They're all worms, but these are very, very simple baits to use. Anybody can throw them. You could put them on a little kid's rod and reel and let them use them, and they'll get bit. I mean, they get bit just anywhere you go. So first up is going to be the trick worm. The Zoom trick worm I've used for years. Even when a bite gets really tough, I'll go to a trick worm. I'll use it either weightless, or I'll throw it on a shaky head, or I'll even throw it on a drop shot, depending on what the circumstances are. But if you're fishing, let's just say you're a bank fisherman, this is probably one of my favorite baits to throw in a pond. It's very simple to use. Like I said, I rigged this up usually. Now I know there's a lot of guys that might have a little different opinion on this, but okay, this is your normal worm hook. I don't use these, not on this trick worm. I actually use an EWG hook. Now I'll show you why here. So if I hook this in, and like I said, a lot of times I'm going to fish this on the bank around the pond here at my house, or at a lake or something like that, or a smaller body of water, and I like to throw this right by the bank. Now if you look how that's rigged up there, that's about as weedless as it gets. I mean, that is very, very easy. It's a light wire hook, so you're going to get a lot of, your smaller bass aren't going to have a problem, getting this whole thing in their mouth. And when you set the hook, it's a pretty, you can see right there, it's a good hookup ratio. Stays out of the weeds a lot, comes over little, brush piles and stuff like that pretty easy. So it doesn't get hung up a heck of a lot. And also, like I said, I fish it weightless, so you're not going to have that weight dragging it down behind stuff and getting stuck. That's why I said for kids, this is great. I mean, it's very simple. A lot of times I'll dip the tails a little bit, and maybe some chartreuse or something like that, depending on which ones I'm using. But it's a simple, easy bait to use, like I said, across the board. So I'll put everything down in the description. I'll link everything down there so you guys know where to get it and everything. And what, as far as colors go, I mean, you guys have seen, I think I've done a video on a couple different colors, but if it's your darker, murkier water, stuff like that, go to your darker colors. If it's clear of the water, go to your more natural colors. It's pretty simple. That's the easiest way to say that. I can get complicated and go into a lot of different colors of different, because it's, cloudy outside and stuff like that, but just to keep it simple, we'll just leave it at that. All right, second one I got here, the Cinco. And I know a lot of you guys are probably looking at this going, where'd you get that color? This came out, it's been years and years and years ago, and I had a hard time getting a hold of these. I think the Bass Pro brand still does them in this, and I think it's called a chartreuse pepper, I think is the name of it. But I don't remember if I could get it in the Gary Yamamoto. I'd have to look and see. But this color here for clear water is killer. I mean, absolutely killer. There's a private lake that I go to, or used to go to a lot. It was a real clear water lake. It had a lot of grass in it. And I tell you, you could not beat this thing out there. I don't care what you threw. This color on a Cinco was the top bait out there. I mean, just absolutely killed them. But for fishing, very simple. This is another one, just like that trick worm there. I fish it weightless a lot. I hardly ever put weights on these. Now this one, I'm going to use a little bit bigger worm hook. And the reason being look how big around that is. That's a lot of plastic to get through there. So I do have a bigger worm hook. It's a little bit beefier hook too. And guys, when you hook these, if you look, I don't know if you can see that real well, but there's actually an open slot right here. And if you hook these right, come down through there, you come through here, that should lay right in that slot right there. Now, it's not completely weedless that way, I'll tell you that. You can bring it back a little bit and skin hook it, and it works okay, it's fine. But I will tell you what I have found to work even better is the EWG. This thing lays in here perfect. Now this is strictly if I'm going to be throwing it in a lot of grass and stuff. I don't do this in open water because the hookup ratio is a little bit worse than what the other hook is. But you can see right there, that thing is weedless. There's nothing there. It slides right in that slot. You can see right there. Pops right out real easy. But like I said, the hookup ratio is a little bit worse with the EWG like that than it is with the worm hook. But the worm hook, you're gonna have that point out just a hair. Like I said, you can skin hook it and it lasts for a little bit, but if you're dragging through a lot of weeds and stuff like that, it does wear out. It starts to come off and getting hung up a lot. But if you got a smaller kid or something like that, or somebody that's inexperienced, I would suggest that EWG hook. It's going to save you a lot of trouble. They're not going to get hung up as much. You'll be able to come over branches with it and stuff. And I will tell you guys, the #1 part that people fail at fishing this bait, because I hear a lot of people like, oh, I don't catch nothing on them. They don't work very well. I'm telling you, you're probably wrong, and you're probably fishing it wrong. The #1 key to this bait, a Cinco or the trick worm, when you're fishing it weightless, is letting it sink. Give it time. If you're fishing in something, let's just say it's 8 foot of water, count to 10 before you even touch that thing. Throw it out there, let it fall, just count to 10. When you get to 10, then you can start moving it. 90% of your bites are going to be on that fall. When I fish grass lines, or if I'm fishing a lay down or something like that, I throw it up in there, I don't twitch it, I leave it go. And I guarantee you, most of the time, either by the time it hits the bottom, something's already carried it off, or you're going to feel a sudden thump on it. And like I said, they catch bass very well. Like I said, I've never had bad luck with these things. So that's #2 on the easy bait. #3, I just got into here about a month ago, thanks to Tackle Junkie. He got me turned on to these. But that is the Biospawn Plasma Tail. That is a killer little worm. That tail on that thing, I love it. The one problem I have with this bait, you get a lot of bluegill. They eat that tail up, and a lot of times they'll rip it off. I do have to say the plastic on these is a little bit better than some of your other baits. I mean, it's pretty durable, but the way Biospawn made that, with that real slender tail right here, to get a lot of action out of that tail, it works really well. But like I said, it does get ripped pretty easy when the bluegill start ripping into it though. This is another one. I throw a little bit of it weightless, but I have found that I went down to about an 1/8 ounce weight. Works really well with these. I don't peg this. I just put the 1/8 ounce weight on there, and I throw it, and I actually throw it up around stuff and let it fall straight down, and just let it sit there a little bit, and that tail just kind of wiggles back and forth. And then I'll jiggle a little bit, and it'll get that tail moving again. Small bass really like this thing, I can tell you. So like I said, if you've got kids or something like that you're wanting to take along, this is a great bait to try, for them to try out. They're going to get a lot of bites, whether it be bluegill or whether it be smaller bass or whatever. You're going to get some easy bites. So like I said, today's video is not about catching big ones. It's about going out, having fun, and making sure you get bit. So those are my 3 worms that I use. I showed you the 2 hooks that I typically use for the weightless setup, and now I'll get into a little bit different setup. All right, the shaky head. So when doing the shaky head, I'm going to bury, I'll show you here real quick, with the trick worm. Easier one to do it here. And guys, I will tell you, I normally just cut the, let me get rid of this. I'll cut the tip off of these trick worms. And the reason being is that little pointed nose on there is really hard to get on them screw locks. So I can take a little bit off of there. And I don't suggest biting, they're awful salty. So we'll get this threaded up on there. All right, so when I'm hooking this in here, you can see that hook right there. I'm just gonna take this, I'm gonna put it through just like that. I don't want that hook exposed. I don't want anything out here. When you go to set a hook, you're gonna pull that enough, it's gonna come through that plastic without a problem. Unless you've got an extremely dull hook or got it hooked really weird, but it should come right through that plastic with no problem. It doesn't get hung up a whole heck of a lot. This is a very good way to use this. As far as kids throwing it, I'm gonna suggest if you're in a boat or something like that, let them throw it. It's not a big deal. If they're on the bank and they're dragging it to them, a lot of times they're gonna get hung up on stuff, that weight, and the eye is actually gonna slide up underneath stuff and get hung quite often. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to do that. So I would suggest if you're in the boat, then it's a good time to use it. Or if you're, off the bank a little bit on a dock or something like that, or you can walk out to it, it's a little different. And then my last one is going to be the wacky rig. I know it's a little bit big one here, but I wanted to make sure you guys could see it all right. But this is the VMC one. I really like these. They're not a real stout hook. They're a little bit more of a light wire, which I like for throwing these smaller worms on. I'm sure any of you guys know, what a wacky rig is. Just take it. They sell different little rubber rings for them that you could use that save your baits a little bit longer and this and that, whatever. But if you're just getting into this and don't want to spend a bunch of money, this is what you get into. So you're just going to hook it straight through there, just like that. Got a little weed guard here. You're going to throw it out there, let it fall down, give it a little jiggle. It's got a ton of movement on both ends. I fished the Cinco quite a bit on this. The trick worm, not as much, but I do use it. The one thing I do find with the trick worm, I'll pull this off here real quick. So if I'm fishing the shaky, or the this one with the trick worm, I'll actually come up here a little closer to the head. And the reason being is there's so much weight on this end that it gives it a little bit different action. It gets that tail to fall a little bit slower. So when you initially throw this in, that bait goes down like this, and that tail's still kind of hanging behind, and it's a little bit slower to the fall. And a lot of times the bass will pick it up by that tail and then just engulf the rest of it. But that's about all I got for today, guys. Like I said, hopefully you can take it out there in the field and use it. Like I said, for kids and stuff like that, it's a great technique to use. It's very simple. It's very inexpensive. And it does get bit a lot. And if you got kids, they're very impatient 90% of the time. I can tell you with my kids, I like to strangle them half the times when they were younger because they wouldn't leave something in the water. But with this, they'll get a lot of bites on it, like I said, whether it be a bluegill or crappie or some other kind of small species of panfish and small bass and stuff like that. But they do get bit a lot, and it's a small bait that fish don't mind coming up and checking out and usually taking off with. So if you guys have got any more questions or anything, leave them down in the comments below. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that like button. And I'll see you guys again on Sunday. Thanks.